Okay, just a few notes on the pre-eclipse season energies that we're facing moving up to the eclipse season starting from March 25th and then lasting with the total solar eclipse in Aries on April 8th. So I'm filming this video on March 2nd. It probably won't be posting for a few more days, but I felt today that the energy of eclipse season was really actually starting to come in, and I just wanted to channel through some energy for you all about what we can expect and how to wield this energy. This has been one of the more pressurized eclipses that I've felt in a long time. Partly because it is actually one of the areas of totality I will be under during that time. So I will be able to experience this eclipse in full totality. There will also be a comet in the air as well as the North Node. So we have one of the most incredible eclipses coming. Hit the subscribe button below for when I make a specific video closer to time about the April 8th total solar eclipse. We still have a month to go, okay? And I'm really happy to be coming on and talking about this. I think this is one of the most important videos that I've made in a long time, because that's one of my favorite things to do, is to know that there's still quite a bit of time away from a transit and to start to get into that preparational phase to really face the energy. So before we talk about that, I want to kind of think a little bit about what that eclipse is indicating to me from more of a logical standpoint. Like, I'm going to have to get closer to the period of time before I really can get more of a psychic feel on it. But I feel that the way that we express ourselves in a very first house Aries way is about to change. I also feel that the way that we embark a path, or the way that we step into the energy of pursuit, is about to get some eclipse energy into it. What this means is that very long-running ways of expressing ourselves and holding ourselves, even long-running foundations, are about to totally change. So that which has become stagnant, that which has become an obstacle in our lives, is liable to shift in this April time period. And we're looking at an opportunity, unlike any other, to really take a hands-on approach with the way that we express to the world, with the way that we embark, pursue, or step into inspiration or motivation with the sign of Aries. And really, we're looking at an entirely new paradigm of self-perception coming up here. I'm getting chills as I'm saying that. So, like, the way that we see ourselves in the world, the way that we perceive of our own journey, the way that we find inspiration and in some ways fuel ourselves to embark these ultimate cause goals, is about to get the energy of an eclipse. Meaning that there could be a previous way of exertion, a previous way of fueling an ideology or fueling an expression, a previous sort of manner of connecting to that could leave our experience now and be replaced with something else. So what I'm feeling with that is that we have to be prepared to experience ourselves differently. We have to cling less tightly to the old way. Of course, we've had Pluto move into Aquarius. This is kind of connecting to that as well. To then, right after Pluto's gone into Aquarius, have an eclipse on the first house axis. This is a major, major beginning point for a lot of people. This is a point of new attraction. This is a point of stepping into a new story for a lot of people that's going to be coming in April. And as I was feeling it today, here in early March, I was feeling that there's a lot of pressure and tension around how do I maximize everything that I've done and channel all of that into these new paths. It's kind of a hoarding type of energy, or a fear of having wasted time, a fear that not everything is going to come into these new paths, or not every word or every idea or every foundation may be relevant in the future. I also feel a lot of energy of deterioration and lack being eclipsed out, and people embracing a more prosperous or more at least self-dignifying energy. This is kind of interesting, and I'm sensing a conflict as well coming up as we're approaching this eclipse season around the idea of, is the way that I'm expressing dignified for me, or am I appeasing a group or appeasing even like a hunger or a craving that I have? For example, being attached to something in your life, not because it is necessarily inspirational or fueling the next level of evolution for you, but because it's accomplishing a very myopic means, or is like, for example, paying the bills, and not really trying to say that people need to rise up and quit their jobs here, or that people need to turn into opposition with what currently fuels or works on their lives. But there's something of this during this time, and it needs very gentle, very loving, direct thought, direct, even sort of hands-on work. We need to think quite deeply leading up to this eclipse season about, what am I demanding in my life to satiate my day-to-day? And is that actually in alignment with the greater evolution of my soul now? Because I'm kind of seeing a lot of people are kind of stuck in a coping loop here, where it's like, some of the things that I'm buying in my life, or some of the things that I'm funding in my life, are keeping a certain quiet peace or stillness that may be necessary for a very temporary kind of coping process, but may in the long run deprive certain connections or deprive certain needed evolutions. So this eclipse is going to come in April, and it's going to show us all of the pitfalls of some of the things we've worked so hard to sort of carve out. And this is very hard for a lot of people to go through, because I'm definitely seeing that syndrome. Like, don't freak yourself out. This is kind of a heavy thing. I'm seeing that syndrome where someone works so hard for so many years to like save up and do XYZ, buy that house or whatever. And they get it, they achieve it here, and there's kind of this like, what next feeling, or the pursuit of this felt more relevant to me than the actual having of this. So then there's this sort of desperate generative energy to try to create a new connecting point that has that kind of need or that kind of fuel behind it. So I'll give you guys a little bit of a hint leading up to this eclipse season. The ratio of success lies in the gravitation that you have and the fuel that you have to move towards something. But sometimes it's not even about what you're moving toward. It's about the pursuit of that. So this is a great time to start dropping all of these ideologies that are hungry for a certain result, or hungry for a certain payout, or hungry for a certain something that we don't already have, and to just really enjoy the process of actually moving toward or embarking. Now, something else that I will tell you all is that a lot of what we think that we really need in our day-to-day cannot come past this eclipse. This is going to be very hard for some people. We have these daily habits, or we have these preconceptions about what we need to live, or what we need to basically achieve homeostasis. And when we do that, we are neglecting or refusing to believe in the inherent capacity of the body. So homeostasis is not something that's dependent on a specific kind of economic context or on a specific series of events. There are certainly nutritional necessity for it. There is a need to de-stress. There's a need to not be in constant fight or flight or constant anxiety. But a lot of us need to detach the ability to generate that kind of environment from the dollar amount or from the extreme in which we can achieve it. I'm seeing a lot of people climb Mount Everest just to get the pay raise. Or I'm seeing a lot of people feel like they have to make things too difficult, okay? Or by keeping something so far away from themselves, they're almost instilling this kind of like rabbit and carrot dynamic where they're like constantly chasing something when they could already have it or they could already give it to themselves. So, leading up to this eclipse season, especially during Pisces season before the equinox on March 19th, try to start allowing some of the minutia to wash away and allowing some of the expanse to basically narrow in so that you can have somewhat of an understanding of like what it is exactly that you're trying to do here, as well as beginning to drop the fear of judgment for your truth. I'm seeing a lot of this leading up to this eclipse. I'm seeing a lot of people feeling like they need to kind of insulate or hide their truth, or feeling like a need to like really amp up security and protection. I don't think that that's wrong, but I also feel a lot of people having confusion about like how they identify in a very first house way, right? Like this is not like reputation identity like the 10th house. This is like first house identity, which is like just the very basic, simple truth about who I am, what I do, and how I express to the world, aside from what people think of that or, any of that 10th house identity stuff. This is where the eclipse is coming in, is on this collective first house. So we have a deep change coming in just the very basic sense in which we project, identify, and hold ourselves in the world. I'm sensing that a lot of us have not been honest with ourselves about who we are. That's kind of what this major total eclipse indicates to me. And this is happening with the center point on the North American continent. It's possible that a lot of people are having to lie to themselves about who they are. It's possible that a lot of people are kind of like shifting back and forth in a certain narrative about themselves, and maybe it's not matching to the real life context. So this eclipse is going to be a lot about like actually bringing who you are to reality, not putting on a false face anymore, not feeling like you need to hide, not being even scared of people necessarily being against you or not supporting who or what you are. Okay? This is kind of an interesting thing. It's a very kind of like sacred, actually Pisces and Aries dynamic, this 12th first house area, which is where we're currently at, where it's like, this is my truth. This is who I am. This is who I've been created to be. And I'm not afraid of the opinions that other people hold about that. I'm not feeling like I need to generate a persona of myself that make other people comfortable. I'm not feeling like I need to do them that type of disservice. I'm not feeling like I need to decide for them whether or not they're comfortable with me. That's a big thing right now. That's a huge thing right now. That's so great. Because a lot of us think like, okay, I'm going to express myself in a way that makes other people comfortable. We think we're being modest. We think we're being humble. And it can have that kind of intention behind it. But a lot of the time, what we're actually doing is we're making a decision for someone else about what truth they see. So there's a lot of, I guess, lies, or a lot of white lies in some cases, that have to really come to light during this eclipse season. And it sometimes does come at the cost of like losing support or losing the confidence of certain people. But it also really clears up the karma, and it clears up the aura, because you're not having like people sort of like falsely support you on some type of false basis, or on some type of incorrect dynamic. And this is not always deliberate. Like this is not something like, as I'm talking about this sounds kind of like dark or manipulative, but a lot of people just do this inherently without even realizing that it's happening, or without even pre-planning this. It's just kind of like develops. It's like a part of the way that the mirror neurons work in the brain, actually, to kind of like mirror the person that you're in dialogue with, or like create a sort of like harmonious or similar dynamic. So this is like actually a physical mechanism of the brain to sort of like lean towards this. And I think that a lot of us are going to have to watch out for that, and watch out for being so comfortable, or being so harmonious to the extent that we're actually creating a state of disharmony in our own psyche because we're not expressing who we really are to the world. It's going to be a lot of energy of like coming out of the closet for some people here, a lot of energy of that career is not authentic to me. This one isn't. It really shocks people to see like what actually comes up. There's going to be a lot of also realization during this eclipse of like, I'm trying to front an appearance that is not who I am. I'm embracing a type of like style that is not me. And this starts to feel very conflicted here. And what's the result of this type of conflict at both the very micro and macro level? Well, it's the energy of war and it's the energy of conflict. Because basically people, through these kinds of like comfortable expressions that are not like actually realistically valid, they actually, in a roundabout way, inadvertently declare war on themselves by not allowing themselves to actually come out. So this is like a hampering, or this is like a sort of territorial seizure of the self. And you see how it starts to manifest also at a larger level when you have a lot of collectives basically engaging this kind of like conflicted or hyper-controlled recipe. Okay? I mean, look at how that's starting to manifest at really high levels. So a way that we can start to trust the honesty of who we are and the expression of that to properly proportion our momentum and lives to the extent that we're not further diminishing or pushing ourselves down and creating the energy of conflict, basically. Another thing that I'm sensing, you all, this is kind of a switch in subject, but as this eclipse comes, it's going to be harder to do things totally alone, okay? Yeah, it's going to be harder to be that island, that hermit kingdom. It's going to be harder to be so isolated. This is an eclipse happening on the first house, so this is saying I can't do this alone anymore. In certain economic senses, this might mean needing like a team of people. This might mean needing more employees, or even needing multiple jobs, multiple employers. And then in the more personal sense, this is definitely a need to have like more of a village or connection of people with similar beliefs in order to reconcile these things. I see quite a lot of difficulty coming just through like not bouncing ideas off of people. This is sort of like self-tyranny. It's like the feeling that I have the impulse is like absolute and I have to just like, scream forward with that. That's a lot of also what we're seeing on the global stage right now, is that exact dynamic. And it's happening not just there, though. It's happening for a lot of individuals, too. So this is kind of like maybe mixing up, or what we'll see after the eclipse. I don't think this is going to happen in Pisces or perhaps even Aries season, because there's a lot washing away. There's a lot of like coming to terms with who we are and what we're actually doing. But then as we move past this eclipse on April 8th, it's going to be very important to start mixing things up a little bit, to start connecting with different people. And we're going to see a lot less people sort of being in this like hermited or isolated space. But the people there are going to even get like a little bit more of a boost in energy. But that's kind of a chaotic thing. And for some people, that's very positive. It depends on how you're wielding the energy. And for some people, it's very like negative or very tyrannical or extreme. So my recommendation basically, again, as we're on this side of the eclipse, still with a month to go, I feel that we have to make space to be new as people. I feel that we have to drop a lot of the really stagnated identities, or at least detach from the hold that they're having on us. And I feel honestly that a lot of us have like weight to shed energetically, and maybe this has a very material context as well. Like moving is going to be really good for some people here. Maybe not during the eclipse. There's also going to be a mass migration of tourism and stuff happening. So I just will kind of give you guys some really mundane advice like that as well as we move up to like the end of the month. And I would say like last week of March and first 2 weeks of April, it's going to be really chaotic out there, y'all. There's going to be people, especially if you're in an area of totality like I am. There's going to be like millions of people migrating around and like seeing this stuff happen. So we have to plan. If you're in an area of totality in the US or Mexico, Canada, North America, be prepared. Like, there's probably not going to be food on the shelves. There's not going to be highway access. There's going to be a need to be like truly kind of, in that 2020 mode, or in that mode of total home orientation. So it's good to also plan for that. I should have put this into the beginning of the video, but hopefully y'all are still here. Maybe you guys can get into the comments below and either timestamp this or like bring this up in the comments, like how important it is to like be stocked up and prepared and not need a lot of road access and stuff if you're in the path of totality, because it's a major event and there's going to be so many people just going around, and going to be very chaotic in that sense as well, with less access to like public services and stuff like that. So I just want you guys to be prepared for that. And that is a very important mundane factor. But then again, at the more spiritual, paradigmatic level, very new situations. Great time for, we're also in all planets direct here. New house, new car, new things, like obviously if that's appropriate for you financially, like but if you've needed to like make some purchases, this is a great time for that, and even up towards and after this eclipse, especially things that give you more access to other paths, or like, you buy a new car, it lets you travel more, it lets you experience new places more. That's great for this. And then also just for some people, like journeys of self-discovery. Okay, right, with the eclipse on the first house, self-discovery. Aries is about discovery, first house is about the self. There's an eclipsing happening there, so it's like the previous self could like now kind of wind down, and there's a new process of self-discovery happening. So we're building up to that. What an important time of sobriety, what an important time of adjudication of your own past and history, and understanding what's appropriate for you as a person based on the previous momentums, and what you feel at a deep soul level is important for you to embark. So anyway, everyone, that's just random impromptu messages that came to me today. Hit the subscribe button below, hit the thumbs up on this video to get it out there. And I wish you all love, light, and luck as we build up to this incredible eclipse season. Have a great day. Bye.